your feet. It's the Rebel Hearted Radio Show, the perfect place to set rules, obligations, and expectations aside when you tune in and reconnect with your wild side. Meet your host, intuitive badass, healer, and coach, the original Rebel Hearted woman, Lisa Freed. Turn imperfect action into traction and step fully into the power of who you are meant to be. Now here she is, the badass healer herself, Lisa!
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Rebel Hearted Radio Show. I'm so excited to have you listening today. We are in for a unique experience, I can tell you that much today, because I'm doing another solo show, and the topic today is trust or bust, and we're going to talk about what it means to really trust, whether it be ourselves, our intuition, that trust in our relationships, all those beautiful things, and some tools to help us out with that. But to get us started today, what I want us to do is just go through some breathing and some grounding exercises. I'll read you the cards, and then I'll tell you more of why I chose this show. So if you're sitting somewhere, I want you to sit up nice and tall. Just make some little adjustments. Your spine as straight as possible. Roll your shoulders back. Relax and settle in. If you're laying down listening to this show, I'm slightly envious. But just feel fully supported. Let your feet be firmly planted and feel yourself root down into the ground. And we're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth 3 times together. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm recording this from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm at my girlfriend's house and we're hanging out, and I'm trusting in Wi-Fi and technology right now that everything is just working oh so great for this call. And it also means that I have access to different tarot decks and oracle cards and mystery cards that aren't from my own collection, so I get to play with some of hers. So today I grabbed a card from the Wild Woman Mystery Cards, and this is written and illustrated by Elizabeth McLeod. And the card that I pulled was the Wild Woman Wild card, and it talks about you are the wild card of your life. You are the one who will make it be what it is. You turn it around, whether it goes up or down. And just think about what that means. And for me, especially because we're talking about trust today, it's trusting in our ability that we are the one who is the most capable of making our lives what it is. We're the wild card. We get to decide, we get to choose, and we get to trust that we have all that we need to have to become all that we are entirely meant to be in our lives. So how powerful is that? And then the second card that I pulled from was my Beautiful Creatures Tarot deck by J.R. Rivera and artwork by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Beautiful deck. I don't see them very often, so if you see them and it calls to you, I would pick it up. And this card is the Equilibrium. Intolerance is not an issue, you see. We're both different in our own right, but we've learned to come to terms and be fair with one another. And in this card, it talks about equality, fairness, and just. Could these two witches, whose attributes are so different and so distinct, get along? Even when they collaborate with one another in everyday activities. As a matter of fact, they sure can. The Green Witch is the type of creature that sets out on ventures of her own. Her word is and will be the last word. She shows no remorse and does not feel sorry for anyone. All eyes and the spotlight have to be on her. Always. And the Fair Witch is the total opposite of the Green Witch. The Fair Witch is the type of creature that likes to mingle with people and enjoys having them around her. She hears everyone regardless of what they have to say. Most of the time, she puts other people before herself. The fair witch likes to see both sides of the problem, and she has lots of empathy for those around her. Even though these two witches know that they are very different from one another and their personas may clash, they've made a truce and have come to a decision whereby they accept each other's way of being. And when this card shows up, it's to tell us that there will be a day where you will have to accept situations and people for what and who they are. You will have to change your way of being, and even though you may not change someone else's way of being, you will change yourself in order to keep the peace. Also, you will learn how to play fair and show equality to others. It is most important that you be fair and equal to yourself as well. This, more than anything. And I think this card speaks to, trusting that everybody is on their own journey, and we're in the right and perfect place, and we're calling all these experiences into our life to teach us and to really lean into that. So how did I get to be wanting to talk about trust today? Like, what the heck was that all about? And it all goes back to, you've heard me talk about Kida Sonove 100 times, likely in the last few shows. You may have even heard the show that I recorded with her. I've got another one coming up with her as well. And she was talking about how she had to do this call. She was running this group program, and she had to do this call, and she didn't prepare enough for it in advance. And she was feeling like maybe this was a bad thing. Sometimes we get like that, right? We're like, oh my goodness, I didn't prepare enough in advance, and we get that frantic energy going. And this was the day after the call, and she was like, what if I just owned it? What if I owned that I'm just going to channel, I'm going to have room for spirit or source or God or goddess to work through me, to speak to me, and to give me the exact words that I need in that moment for those people listening in that situation. What if I could do that and really lean into that? And what a beautiful and powerful thing, right? If you've ever worked with me, I can write a lesson plan and take time to do it and then completely ignore it. And I used to get so frustrated with myself that this is the way that I worked, that I would always be like, oh my gosh, I didn't prepare enough. And then I'd beat myself down, and then we would roll into the call. And after the first few minutes of me being uptight and I had to stick up my ass, I'd soon relax and settle in and just channel the information that people needed to hear. And what a beautiful thing that is. So when Kida was mentioning this to me about her desire to own and claim that channeling portion, I thought, hey, me too. Because that's my superpower. It's what I do anyway. So what if I just, knocked off the hour of frustration that I normally feel before I do anything, and the anxiety and all that I put my body through, and just roll with it and trust. So that's what you get. In fact, I didn't even know what I was going to talk about on this radio show until an hour ago. And I thought, well, we'll roll with this. So I want you to know that trust is big and it's powerful, and especially when we're first figuring things out, like in our teens and in our 20s, trust can be really volatile. You'll hear that it takes a lifetime to build trust and an instant to lose it, and all these types of things. But our entire life is designed to trust and to build that trust in ourselves as we go. And for me, when I look back at it, there were lots of times that I would trust someone because out of obligation. I just thought, this is the person, they're a person of authority. I'm trusting them because that's what I should do, And there are times where, as I've shared in other shows, where that experience has really bit me in the ass, to be honest and truthful about it. It's just really not worked in my favor to be trusting of everyone. And then there's times where I've really wanted to work on trusting myself and lean into that. And there's times when I've completely got a feeling about something and worked in the opposite direction of that and realized, yeah, that was a bust. So as I go through this show, I want you to just tune in and tap into your body and see if there's any stories that come up of when you were like, oh yeah, I remember that time where I could have just trusted and went with it and I didn't, and look at how it turned out. And just remember how it felt in your body when you got that initial buzz, or that little, hey, pay attention here. And then how it felt afterwards when you realized that you didn't pay attention to it. You didn't trust it. You didn't lean into it. And you'll find that there's probably a few examples of this. And as you go and you set the intention to see them more, they'll float up to your memory. So for me today, what I want to start with is we need to trust that we are all having our very own experience. And especially when we were talking about the card of equilibrium and knowing that we can change, we make the decision to change, and other people get the opportunity. They can choose to change too, but we have to trust that what we're doing is right and proper for us. And that led me into a story of Sunday. I go to the Center for Spiritual Living, amazing spiritual theater and spiritual practices. And while we were there, they were talking about the Cartman syndrome, which I used to think was Cartman syndrome. And they were talking about like Cartman off of South Park. But they're not. They're talking about Cartman. And this is the syndrome, the triangle that happens between persecutor or bully, victim, and rescuer, and how we bounce all around in this place. And in any given moment, we could be living any one of these roles. And in fact, I don't know if you're like me, but I can spend in 5 minutes, find myself in all three roles. I am that good at that. So we want to trust that if we see somebody that's in victim mode, that's their experience, and we shouldn't get in the way of that. You know, we don't need to rescue them. We don't need to pull them out of that spiritual experience that they're having. They're having it for a reason, right? And invite ourselves to be the master of love and hold space for them and see them at their highest of light. And one of the quotes came from Spiritual Liberation, which is written by Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, or Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith. I don't know how it is that he wants to refer to himself. And in his book, he was talking about being this love master, because love is a living, organically powerful energy that holds together the fabric of created word. Love is what we are. Love is looking for love masters, and each of us has that potential. Like, each of us is a potential love master. And it can be really, really uncomfortable to watch someone who's in a situation that's really challenging for them and not want to jump in and rescue them from that, right? Or to persecute the individual that caused the one that you love to be in this victim mode. It can be challenging. But if we can go into this place of, hey, whoa, Chikai, let's just hang out here for a second and hold space for them, seeing them as the greatest good, seeing them as that goddess, seeing them as the queen, as the one that's divine, and seeing that side of them, then it can allow them to recognize that they're in a place of victim and shift out of that on their own, all while holding on to the lesson that they're meant to gain from that, rather than us pulling them out of that space for them and robbing them of the opportunity to have the experience, right? So before I got started with this call, I wanted to pull up the definition. Like, what does Webster say the definition of trust is? What exactly are we talking about? And it is the belief that someone or something is reliable, good, honest, effective, An arrangement in which someone's property or money is legally held or managed by somebody else or by an organization, such as a bank, for a set period of time. And an organization that results from the creation of trust. An assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, and truth of something or someone. Now, isn't it amazing if we could trust all people to be able to show up as their best self? And we hold that knowledge for them. We hold that space for them to step into it at any given moment whenever they're ready. How gorgeous would that be? Rather than jumping into their cycle of rescuing them in the Cartman syndrome and trying to pull them out of that place, right? To me, like, what a game changer it could possibly be if we were doing that. So I wanted to share with you a couple of examples of how trust really, where I didn't trust, and these are really recent. They happened last week and this week. And they kind of bit me in the ass for a minute and caused a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. And then, of course, because I'm fully supported in all that I do and by things that I cannot see and do not need to know the how of, I learned, boy, that was a waste of energy. So the first one was, I was hanging out on my couch watching Supernatural. I don't know if you guys watch Supernatural, but I watch Supernatural. And I was hanging out watching it. And I get this little nudge. Hey, Lisa, you know it'd be cool? If you backed up your computer. That would be cool. And I was like, dude, I'm watching Supernatural on Netflix. There isn't even a commercial break for me to stand up and do that. So, no, like, I can do that later. Not right now. I'm going to do that later. And the next day I woke up and my computer was entirely dead. Gone. No bueno. Not working. Wouldn't even give me the dreaded blue screen. It was just totally toast. And I got, like, to that role of victim, right? Like, oh my God, can you believe it? And victim, persecutor, all in the same line, because I was feeling like a victim that this happened to me and that I didn't listen. And then I was feeling like I needed to bully myself and beat myself up because I did not trust and I did not listen to that nudge that I had. Have you ever been there? And I was ping-ponging back and forth between these two spaces, and it was really ugly. It wasn't just ugly, it was fugly, right? So there was that notion. And when I got calm and I got quiet and I tapped into myself, I realized that beneath the surface, beneath all this anxiety, all this rushing around, all this frantic energy, I felt very still and very calm. And I kept hearing the notion that, like, trust this is all going to work out, which is easy to say if, I was one of those individuals who didn't use my computer for everything and I hadn't done a backup in 3 or 4 weeks. Like, this is my life, I could be really dramatic about it, but under the surface, it was just this beautiful little flow of, like, we're okay. It's gonna work out. So, turns out it did work out. 5 days later, a friend of mine showed up at my house. It's a good friend. Showed up at my house with a bottle of bourbon, a beautiful bottle of bourbon, by the way, and fixed my computer, just like that. Probably took him 20 minutes, but he did it, and he just fixed it. Easy peasy for him. So again, all that anxiety, all that frustration, all that anger and that agony of beating myself up wasn't necessary because I could have just trusted and leaned into this. And then I probably rolled around to a few days later, I got sent this PayPal transfer. And it was a nice enough chunk of change that you would recognize, you'd notice if it went away, right? And I woke up in the middle of the night and noticed I had the transfer, and I was like, what'd be really cool is, because the 1st is coming up and there's a lot of bills, like today is March 1st. What if I transferred that money now, and then it would have Thursday and Friday and Monday to transfer, and it would be in my account, and that would be great. And I was doing it from my phone. I was still half asleep, and right before I hit send, I heard in my head, hey, Lisa, double check that that's going into the account that you want it to. because I have 2 old accounts that are bank accounts that are listed on there. And here it is, like, I'm like, no, it's set as a primary account. It won't fuck up. And I hit send anyway. And sure enough, it went into one of those old accounts. So I was up all night long, like 12:30 at night, all night. I was awake and fretting about this and trying to figure out, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I Google searched everything, and everything said once you withdraw to a different account, once you hit a PayPal withdrawal to an account, it's done. There's nothing you can do about it. And so, of course, I call PayPal as soon as their office opens, and they tell me, wow, we've never had a transfer happen that quickly. That's awesome. But you're right. There's nothing we can do. And I was like, man, here I was back in the space of like, why didn't I just trust myself? Why didn't I lean into this? Why, why me? Poor me. Oh my gosh. I'm so stupid. All this like rigmarole. And funny story, but when I check in underneath, still that solid, steady, we're easygoing, everything's good place happening in my body. And as it turns out, guess what? The money went into an account that I thought I no longer had access to, but I had total access to it. So it's trusting that initial nudge, and trusting in your ability to figure it out, and trusting that it will all work out. It is all working out. Everything that we do, source, God, goddess, universe, whatever you want to call it, love, beauty, is there to support us. So sometimes to teach us, and be very creative in how it's teaching us, but then to support us. So what are some tools, right? Like, let's just check in. What are some tools that we can use so that we can feel like, all right, you're saying trust, but I need to see it, right? I need to be able to see it physically in my body or in front of my eyes so I know that I can trust it, right? So there's a few things that I use. And if you take your ring finger and your thumb, this is muscle testing, your ring finger and your thumb, not your ring finger, your pointer finger and your thumb, index finger and your thumb, and you make an O, like the everything's A-OK symbol. And then you take the pointer finger and your thumb of your other hand, and you link them together so it looks like a chain link or like a figure 8 or an infinity symbol. All those things, however you want. Or if, like when you were a kid, you used to make, use your hands as glasses, kind of like that. And you ask yourself some baseline questions. And with them, you're not clenching really, really tight, but you're holding them solid. And you try to break that link between your fingers. And you ask a question, a yes or no question. Is my name Lisa? Well, when I ask that, that's very solid. That link doesn't break. Is my name Rebecca? And it breaks right away. Am I Sagittarius? No, doesn't, it breaks right away. Am I a Leo? No break, because I am indeed a Leo. And you can do that for all things and then work your way up to the yes or no questions that you want to find the answers for. And it can be a quick and easy but physical way to show you and to help you to trust the answer that you're coming up with, right? The other way that I love to do it is there's people that have pendulums, and you may have one. They can be made of rock or crystal or gemstone, or, I've seen them made out of chandeliers and all kinds of things on the end of a string or a chain, a fine chain. And you can ask that pendulum, show me yes, and it'll show you a motion. It'll either be forward and back, or it'll be in a clockwise circle. Okay, so that's yes, show me no, and it'll swing in the opposite direction. And then you can ask, is this pendulum for me? And then once you know that that's your pendulum, then you can ask it those same yes or no questions and watch it for its response. And it's this beautiful thing. Just another very physical way to be able to see your answer and help you to trust in that. Then there's also, you can use a body pendulum. I don't recommend this if you're pregnant, because that can set off your gravity a little bit and can be a little awkward. But you stand straight up tall with your knees slightly bent and your hips feet width apart, and lean forward as far as you can without toppling over, and say, yes, 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 yes. And then come back to center and neutral, upright, and then lean back as far as you can without crashing and splitting your head open, and say, no, 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 no. And then just a few times, maybe even 10 times, leaning forward, yes, 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 leaning back, no, no, no. And creating, setting a baseline for your body to feel what yes is and what no is. And then asking yourself these questions, these yes or no questions, and standing there in a neutral position. Ask the question and your body will automatically shift you forward or back. It'll answer yes or no, and you'll feel it because you've already calibrated your body to recognize it. And it's a quick, easy way to determine, what the answer is and be able to trust in it because you've had the very visceral, physical response. And that tool's free. You don't even have to leave your house for it. You just got it right there. I use tarot or oracle cards. I'll do a card reading, a yes or a no one. Sometimes it's a single card. I know from the card reading whether or not it's a yes or a no, but you can do per outcome, for 2 different outcomes, a yes or a no, and look at the cards that way. There's all kinds of tools that we have to help us to really trust that we've got it. Woman, you've got every single thing you need to have the experience and the outcome that you desire. It's all been, your life up until this point has been orchestrated so that you can have that and experience that. So there's ways to see that you can trust that. And then there's tapping into our body. And this is something that I recommend that everybody practice, is really getting comfortable with where it shows up. If you meet somebody, have you ever done that? You meet somebody and you get that whoa, heebie-jeebie feeling? Trust that. Don't just tell yourself that you're being a judgmental bitch and insist that you need to sit through it in order to determine, in order to be nice, to be seen as the nice person. Don't do that. Don't do that. We get into so much trouble when we start doing games like that, Just trust our instinct and our interaction first. Listen to our bodies. It's brilliant. Or you'll get that idea that feels really exciting and it's awesome and you want to get into it and it's something that's been driven through you. You're not at a high, you're not at a conference or something. When you go to the conferences and they play the rave music and everybody gets hipped up and everything's exciting and thrilling that way. And then all of a sudden you're sure, I'll buy your $10,000 program. I'm in the red, but this will change my life for sure. Not in high pressure situations like that, right? But if it's an idea that comes up to you that feels exciting, feels right, go with that. It came to you for a reason. Everybody talks about Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic book. So many people rave about it. I never made it past the halfway mark. But she talks about trust the flow that comes to you. And when an idea flows to you and it lights you up, that charge, that jolt, you get that woohoo feeling, to say yes to that and grab onto it and run with it. Don't sit on it. Don't put it on the back burner for a long time, because next thing you know, that idea will move on to someone else who will respect it more. So trust when you get those hints to act on them, and that you'll be able to figure it out, right? You don't have to know the how. You don't have to see every single step. It's like playing a game of football. You can kind of have an idea that coaches can map out the plays, but that doesn't mean they're going to turn out that way, right? They're just going to trust that their team's going to figure it out and be able to get that ball to the end zone, because that's what they've been preparing for. And you've been preparing for what it is that you want to achieve in your life your whole entire life. The universe has been preparing you for this. So really remember this, that you've got it all figured out. You've got the ability to figure it out. You already have everything that you need, and just trust it. Have that absolute reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone, and that someone is you, And that's beautiful and powerful. And you don't want to mess with that, right? So, I know that this feels like it was, trust, and I didn't get into some nitty-gritties around how it plays out in our relationships and everything like that, and I'll come back and I'll revisit it. But right now, what it feels like that you needed to hear today, and I needed to hear it, is that you already have what you need. You already have it. Now you have some additional tools to be able to prove to yourself that you've got it. And that time is to get out there and get it. So last call I talked about affirmative prayer and how beautiful it is. And I wanted to share with you, affirmative prayer again, because I think that it's so beautiful. And the one that I picked today is I Trust the Process. And it is by Claudia Mulcahy is the one that wrote this. She's an author, a teacher, and a thriver. And this is from her blog. And it was published in Creative Thought magazine in December 2007. God is good. God is here and now in my life. The good I believe in and call energy, universe, and creative wisdom is always present. It is always working in, around, through, and for me. There is no separation between this power and who I am. God is expressing as freedom from fear or want. Its flow of guidance moves through me as wisdom. It is my partner in success as I direct it. I state my desire in a clear, direct manner and trust the universe with the how of bringing me my desires. I move to receive what I claim as mine. It makes no difference to the universe whether I want physical health, world peace, loving relationships, or greater income. It follows the direction I give. As I do this, I let go and have faith, knowing the Almighty is at work. There is nothing to get in the way of the creative wisdom, not even me when I consciously team up with Spirit. I state my claim, know it is good, and let it be. It is done, it is done, it is done. And I invite you to join with me and say, and so it is. Whew. Yeah. So, this is my conversation around trust. I invite you, especially since it's the first of the month, to look at how you can trust yourself more. Trust yourself and your ability to figure it out. Trust that you already know, what you need to know, and that you can just go ahead and get it done. Examine relationships where trust might be an issue. And if your body gives you this little nudge that things aren't, so here's an example of it. Lots of people say, there's a meme that goes around, and I'm sure there's a beautiful quote too. It talks about when we need to stop putting so much emphasis on what people are saying and trust more in what they're showing us, right? What their behaviors and their actions and their energies are showing us, rather than the words that they're saying. Because anyone can say anything. You're the biggest lie detector. Your body is that. So trust that you've got that. So if you got relationships that aren't feeling that good, it's time to set some boundaries. Maybe that person needs to be moved back. They can't be in your inner circle. Or maybe they need to be moved out entirely. Or maybe they need to be made aware of how their behavior is affecting the relationship. All those things. But just examine trust where it is in your life today, where it could be different, what things could change and shift and move around for that. And then I want to leave you with a quote by William Shakespeare, Measure for Measure. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. So instead of like dealing with our doubts, let's partner in trust, okay? I have one call for action for you guys that I want to invite you guys to come and play with me, especially if you look at your life and you notice that you've been playing supporting roles for people. What are some supporting roles that you are playing for others? Like you're helping other people achieve their dreams and your dreams are being put on the back burner, or your best interests are being set aside. Like the card said today about you will learn how to play fair and show equality to others, but it's most important that you be fair and equal to yourself as well. This, more than anything, is important. So in your life, if there has been a place where you've been putting other people first, the needs and the wants and the desires of others have been going in front of yours, and you're noticing that it is to the detriment of you, I want to talk to you. Not to sell you anything, not to make you feel bad or anything like that. I just want to hear where those relationships are happening, where they're showing up, and what we can do differently around this. I just want to have these conversations. So if this is something that interests you, I want to have a 30-minute conversation with you. You can book at www.calendly.com/Lisa Freed. So www.calendly.com/LISAFRIEDT. Book a 30-minute slot with me. We'll have this conversation. There's no sales pitch. And then as a gift to you, I will give you a 30-minute either coaching call with me where we can talk about these things. We can talk about business, whatever it is, or an energy channeling healing session. All as a thank you for supporting me with this. So if you missed where to reach out to me there, please find me on Facebook or comment when you see this posted on Spreaker. That would be awesome. And I would love to connect with you. So I wish you a day as absolutely beautiful as you. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to talking with you next week. I've got a great guest for you whose name is escaping me in this moment. But have an amazing, amazing week, and we will talk to you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on the Rebel Hearted Radio Show. Is your wild child still left wanting more? Contact Lisa further at rebelhearted.com and step into your rebel-hearted self.